Hi there, Derek Hagan here. I'm a financial therapist, financial planner, and life coach specializing in meaning in life, mindfulness, and resilience here with another meaningful money memo. Let's get to it. Okay, I want to talk about your dash. What does that mean to talk about your dash? If you've ever been into a cemetery, you've no doubt seen headstones. And those headstones have two dates on them, and those two dates are separated by a dash. Right? So the first date represents the day that this person was born, and the second date represents the day that that person died. But the most important symbol on this tombstone is the dash. The other two are just bookends. Those are just the two dates in the middle. The most important symbol on the graveyard is the dash. So let's talk about your dash. Your dash represents your life. You're born, you live, and then you die. And that life is encapsulated in that little dash. We can even magnify that little dash, from birth to death. You're a particular age, and that's your dash. You've lived some of your dash, but you've got some of your dash left. Now let's take a look at what most people want out of their dash. Most people want their dash to be as meaningful as possible. In a life of meaning, a dash of meaning is comprised of three different components. There's a sense of purpose, which is a sense of direction, something interesting to do with your time. There's a sense of significance, which means that I feel significant, I feel important, I feel like life is worth living and valuable. And then there's a sense of coherence, a sense that life makes sense and things aren't chaotic. And at the intersection of these three is a meaningful life, is that meaningful dash. So we get to choose how we spend our dash. Now, unfortunately, many people get to the end of their life and realize that they've misspent their dash in some way. Indeed, author named Bronnie Ware wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, where she highlighted 5 most common ways people thought or felt that they've mislived their dash. The first is that they didn't live a life that was true to themselves and instead lived a life that others expected of them. In other words, they were born, they conformed, and then they died. This was regret number 1, the top regret that people had. I didn't live in alignment with my values. Regret number 2 is that I worked too much. I was born, I did some stuff, and then I died. I was too busy. I didn't focus on the things that mattered. I prioritized my life wrong. And the third regret was that I kept quiet. I didn't express myself. I didn't have the courage to speak up. I didn't want to ruffle any feathers, or I didn't want to get canceled. But then they get to the end of their life and wish they would have made their opinions known. Regret number 4 is that they lost touch with their friends. They lost touch with their family members. So in other words, they were born, they were lonely, and then they died. Maybe a bit of an exaggeration because at some point they had the friends and then they lost touch with them, so they became lonely. And the 5th regret is they didn't allow themselves to be happier. They didn't realize happiness was a choice, or they thought perhaps happiness was contingent on something, on some goal, and then they hit that goal, and then they had to set a new target for happiness, and eventually they ran out of time. So Bronnie Ware's top 5 regrets, in summary, are 1, that they didn't live a life that was true to themselves, they conformed, they worked too much, so they were busy, they didn't express themselves, they kept quiet, they lost touch with their friends, so they were lonely, and they didn't allow themselves to be happier. So you have a huge advantage because now you know what these most common regrets are. So as you move forward in life, you get to decide what you want to do with your dash. Because nobody gets to the end of their deathbed and regrets not buying more crap. Nobody gets to their deathbed and wishes they spent more time with their stuff. Instead, you have an opportunity to ask yourself, what would you want to be able to say, I did it about? In your last moments, you're able to say to yourself, I did it. What do you want to be able to say, I did it about? I'll venture a guess that it wasn't an endless pursuit of more. I got more stuff. I got more things. I got more money. Right? This endless pursuit of more puts us on to like a hedonic treadmill where we just keep spinning and spinning our wheels. Now, this might get us some level of power, some level of status or success, but ultimately, we're eventually going to meet the Grim Reaper. We're going to meet our maker. And the capital T truth is that the Grim Reaper does not care how much money you have, doesn't care how successful you are, doesn't care how much status you had. Indeed, the Grim Reaper's point is simply that you can't take it with you. So ultimately, it doesn't matter how much status you had. It doesn't matter how powerful you were. Who was the most powerful person 150 years ago? Who knows? He's dead, or she's dead. It doesn't matter. Right? What matters is the dash. Right? So we don't want to get to this point where we've got all this money, all this success, we've got a lot of financial assets, but we don't have time left. We don't have the time left to enjoy it. This is not to say this is an excuse to spend too much now and ruin your future self. The opposite is that we put too much focus in the present to the detriment of our future self. In other words, we go broke. We spent too much now. And what's going to happen then is we're going to run out of money when we still have a lot of time left. And that's dangerous too. The trick is to strike a balance between now and the future. Live for today, but also plan for tomorrow. Focus on how you want your dash to play out. Focus on the life that you have left. You get one life. Live intentionally. Greetings, Derek again. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more, please head to meaning.blog, and there you can learn about all things related to money and mindset and purpose and meaning. And you'll be able to find out how we might be able to work together. You'll find more articles. You'll find links to videos. You'll find online courses, all kinds of things to get you going on your journey towards living more intentionally.